Welcome to the Matt Phillips Podcast. I am Matt Phillips, your sales leadership coach, mental toughness expert, and founder of Matt Phillips Coaching. We help sales managers and leaders make more money, save time, and become kick-ass leaders of their sales teams. And that's what we're here to talk about on this podcast. We are here to give you the tools and tactics to build a well-oiled sales machine and teach you the mental toughness skills so you can show up confident, focused, emotionally in control, and ready to energize your team. It's time to talk sales leadership and mental toughness. Let's get into today's episode. Well, welcome to today's podcast. It is Matt, and we get to do a deep dive into kind of one piece of leadership. And it's really around this concept of like, do we really understand the tendencies of our people? Right? Do we understand how they're going to act or react based on certain situations and circumstances that are happening? Like, do we know our people? And also on the flip side of, do we know kind of the concept of know thyself, right? Do we know ourselves of what our tendencies are just in everyday life, but as leaders of the team? Because the reality is that all of us react differently to situations. We do. Like, we're humans. We are complex. We are beautifully unique. And that's a wonderful thing. But if you want to get to the next level from a leadership perspective, it's starting to understand how you show up and how they show up. And when you understand those things and utilize the tools that are available to you, two of which I'm going to take you through today, but these tools that are right at your fingertips, and you study them and you integrate them into what you do and you implement the things that you know, my gosh, next level performance, next level output, next level communication. It's all about, are you aware of how you're showing up? Do you know how your people show up? And are you willing to take the steps necessary to meet halfway? Right? What we're here to talk about today, when you know your people, it's about motivating them. It's about influencing them to take action, right? To do the things. It's helping them remove roadblocks that are getting in their way. It's helping you as a leader remove stuff that is just right there getting in your way too, based on the approach that you might be taking. So it's this question of like, what type of leader are you? It's what are your tendencies, right? How are you going to react to different situations? How are you going to act? How do you think? How do you process information? And when we start to really understand this, it's an absolute game changer. And here's what I see when I go into a lot of companies. There are so many tools that are just right there that very few people use and let alone understand, right? Or at least spend time studying, right, to understand them. And I'm sure you've done these at your companies. And I'm going to take you through one in particular you may have done, or maybe not. Maybe it's time for a refresher. But also another one that we've put together that can be useful for you as well. And it all has to do with these little personality behavioral assessments that I'm sure you've taken before, right? Maybe you've heard of the DISC, Emergenetics, Insights. I mean, there are so many of them out there that you can take and utilize. But what I find at the companies I worked at, we do it, we take the assessment, we get back the results, and they give that little readout, and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody's laughing because it's like, that is so me. That describes me to a T, right? And then we get that little chart and we hang it up in our cubicle. We put it in our office on the wall, and then we never look at it again. Right? Have you had this? If you're not watching this video, like I'm raising my hand, like been there, done that, right? It looked good on my cube or in my office, but I wasn't spending any time doing it, right? And it was kind of like, well, no, I'm the leader of this division or this function, whatever, and I'm going to react how I'm going to react. My people are going to react how they're going to react, instead of saying, oh my gosh, if I understand my tendencies and how I show up to people, I can A, make sure I'm showing up authentically, but B, I can adjust my approach to meet people where they're at, because that's where, like I said, influence and motivation, everything happens. But it takes studying and understanding. And really the question is, are you willing to put in the time to do that? Because it doesn't take as long as you think. It really doesn't. Because once you read it again and again and again, just a few times, you've now put it in your memory. And the beauty is you can take little, cheat sheet notes, if you will, to write down some of these things to help remind you along the way. So there's two kind of different areas I want to walk through today, just to give you a little bit of perspective on why this is so important, right? And we're going to put links in the show notes as well that you can take advantage of these things. But the first has to do with the DISC profile. And I actually ran this for myself. I ran it for my wife, who's COO of the business. And it's actually a resource that you can get for free. We'll put the link in the show notes to take advantage of as well, because maybe it's time for a refresher, right? Now, maybe I have a lot of companies who do emergenetics and insights and Enneagram and all these different ones, along with clients that do DISC. So maybe yours is fresh. But it was such a good reminder of me to go through. And I did this back in October, actually on October 29th. That's what my report says, October 29th when I took it. It was such a good refresher of just me understanding who I am and how I come across to our team. Because with everything, there's a good and there's a bad, right? There's a good and there's an evil. And leaders, we need to understand the perceptions that others have of us, right? Not that we, I'm not going to go on this path of like, well, don't care what people think about you. That's not the point. The point is, if I want to position my people to be as successful as possible, I've got to have this adaptation in my life of me adapting my approach to their approach, right? And they adapting their approach to my approach. I mean, that's when beautiful things happen in the business world and at home. If we understand this about people, we have to study it. We have to take time. And so even going through our DISC profiles, it was really interesting. And I thought I'd share a couple things from mine that I found really, really interesting. And for those of you who have a DISC, go pull it up. For those of you who have one of the other insights or emergenetics, right, whatever it might be, pull it up, because it's time to re-look at this. And if you have these for your people, it's time to start looking at these again. But when I look at my results, this is my little chart here if you're watching on YouTube, but I am an ID, so persuader. That's what I am. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just who I am. And so as I kind of flipped through the readout of this, I found it super, super fascinating and cracks me up, just like with everything, right? It cracks me up. And I had this example happen today. I'll share with you in a minute. But here's what it says. And I love talking about, like, it goes through outstanding characteristics. Like I'm an integrative leader. I work with and through people. I have a strong interest in people, ability to gain confidence in various types of individuals, right? I believe that to be true. I resonate with just different people, right? I'm not bragging. That's just what I see, what I love, actually. And I exhibit poise and confidence in most situations. Love that sort of stuff. And then I get to the possible limitations. And I underline a couple of things here, which I found really interesting. So it says IDs tend to be inattentive to the little things, may act impulsively, and can be overly enthusiastic, leading to overselling. Super interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute, right? Because the reality is that while we have great things, there's good, there's evil, right? There's some things that propel us forward. There's some things that hold us back. When I look at this, like inattentive to the little things, I think that's hilarious because, I grew up in audit and accounting. Like, I don't know if you knew that about me, right? That's where I started my career and I was really good at it. But to be honest, the data, if there was too much data, I was like, you lost me, right? Or I'd look at this report really intensely for, a couple hours, and I'd have to go take an hour nap just to recover because it took so much energy. So I was good at it, but it tends I kind of gloss over sometimes the little things. The one that stuck out to me that is example today, act impulsively. Maybe when it gets to Black Friday or Cyber Monday, whatever, you're just buying everything left and right? Like, ooh, that's really cool. I do that sometimes, not a lot with shopping, but I had a call today and we're looking to hire a new team member. And in this conversation, she's been doing some work for us just on a contract basis and having this conversation. I mean, I got off the call because I'm thinking oh my gosh, do I hire her full time? And we're talking about that and all this jazz. And I get off and I immediately called my wife and I'm like, we have to hire her. And we might hire her. But my wife said, okay, pump the brakes there, buddy. Like, can you talk me through what was said, stuff like this? And when we ended up going to, instead of me just pulling the trigger, being like, yes, let's go, is we're actually going to do kind of a hybrid where we're going to give her a project and like make sure she wants to work for us and we want to work with her like full time and all this sort of stuff and work our way towards a full-time role. But I mean, impulsive Matt, I mean, I probably would have had the employment agreement out, I would have skipped recording this podcast to get the employment agreement ready just because it's go time. Sometimes people need to kind of pull me back a little bit and tell me to pump the brakes. So it's super interesting for me, right? Because when I reflect on this, again, there's not a good or bad. I'm just saying it's become aware of this, right? So as a business owner, especially now, if I get an idea, I'm like, ooh, let's go there, like the shiny object syndrome. Well, other people might perceive that as impulsive or reckless or what is he doing? Even though for me, it's excitement and energy and passion coming through. I, as a leader, have to be aware of this. Like if I go too fast towards this thing, is it going to scare the heck out of the people with me? Or do I need to pause for a minute and think through, how they might think through it so I can approach them the best and not just scare the living heck out of them, right? Because Shannon, when I, was talking to her and being like, oh, we need to hire all this stuff, she immediately goes to like, okay, this is going to cost how much? And like, whoa. So it's super interesting, right? Or if, for example, like, because I'm, just not into the little things that much or too much data, I don't want it to come across like I don't care, because I deeply care about everything that we do. And it might just be something that I think like, oh, I know they got it. Like we're good. I don't need to worry about that thing. For all you sales managers and leaders out there, I wonder if you've ever thought the phrase, why in the world did I sign up for this? I know I have. And the reality is that leading a team of salespeople can be challenging, right? Just figuring out how to motivate each person and keep the pipeline full and just dealing with the pressure of delivering the month after month results that your company's requiring. And call me an optimist, but amidst the challenge, amidst sometimes the frustration, we have this opportunity in front of us to really impart our knowledge, right? And to leave that legacy on our team and just achieve next level results. And that's why today I want to personally invite you to our free masterclass training, where I'm going to share the exact secrets, the exact framework that I teach sales leaders around North America to help just take you to next level results for you and your team. And it's actually the exact framework that I taught one of my clients who, over a 12-month period, tripled organic revenue growth and increased margin by 30%. So I want to invite you to that masterclass. You can click the link below or head over to mattphillipscoaching.com/webinar, and can't wait to see you in the training. And they might potentially see it as like, well, Matt doesn't care. So again, I feel like I don't know, maybe I should go back to like how I am an integrative leader who I work with and through people, right? I have poise and confidence in most situations. I'm like being really harsh on myself, goodness sake. But the point with this is that the way we show up is super important. And I have to be hyper aware of what I'm doing to make sure I'm meeting the needs of the people that I work with. And that's clients. And that's also my internal team. And that's the beauty of like knowing thyself in organizations as a leader, is once you start to do this, it's an absolute game changer for things, right? Now, the beauty is I'm comfortable going to my wife and saying what I need to say and doing all these things. And she knows me super well and she can help me pump the brakes, right? But sometimes new people to your team or people you haven't worked with for a long time or clients, they don't necessarily know that. And so not only I need to know that about myself, but I need to know that about my team. And as best I can, the clients that I work with are the prospects that I'm going after. Because once I understand how they show up and how they need to see things and do all these things, man, I'm telling you, like that's where next level results, I'm sure you've experienced, right? Where you just hit it off with somebody and my gosh, you know how they work, like they know how you work. I guess this beautiful relationship, right? Even though it might be different, you get each other. That's why we have to leverage these tools, because it gives you amazing insight into not only yourself, but others around you. So this is something that we work on as a team. It's like, okay, let's go through this. Let's analyze this. Let's make sure that, I understand you and you understand me. And we not just hang this on our wall and say, yeah, I'm an ID. Yeah, what are you? You're a SC or whatever the heck you are. awesome. Like 2 thumbs up, right? I have so many conversations. People be like, what are you? And I'll be like, an ID. And I just found out that out on October 29th, 2023, right? Because we can shift a little bit. And they'll be like, I'm a this and that. And I'm like, some of these like assessments, I'm like, I don't know what that is. But I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, can I get a copy of that, please? So I can actually study and understand what you're talking about. So some of these I get really well. Some, like, I don't know that well. The mastermind group I'm in, I was last week. A lot of them have used this Enneagram, right? Which I've done before. People ask what my number is, and I have no idea at this point. I have to look it up every time. But they were throwing numbers around like, oh my gosh, like, and they're like a 9 and 8, and I'm a 2, I'm a 1, and everybody's laughing, haha. And I'm like, I have no idea what you people are talking about, right? So if I don't understand that, then how am I going to effectively work with them or work for them? So that's why I want you to, the first challenge for you is like knock off the dust of some of these profiles of you and your team and start studying them. And start making little cliff notes of, if I approach this person or that person, that this is how I need to do it. Or if this situation comes up and I know this about myself, I need to maybe pause for a minute and maybe just assess for a second how I'm going to show up to them, so I don't step on somebody's toes where you don't really have to. Right? That's next level leadership. You start studying this, amazing things happen. So there's a tool, we'll put a link that you can, if you need a little disc refresher, you can absolutely take it, right? So the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is we have this little quiz we put people through called your superpower quiz, right? Knowing your leadership superpower. And again, very similar to DISC, but kind of a different approach to this. And I won't spend too much time talking about this. And again, you can take it if you'd like. We'll have links down below, but we break these up into 4, right? So we call it, and I feel like I'm channeling my Terminator. I should go into my German Austrian accent. We talk about the Heartinator, the Numberator, the Procedurator, and the Visionator, and wouldn't have been much better in a German accent. But we break it up into these 4. And again, it's just knowing thyself, right? Of if I'm a Heartinator, like that means I lead with the heart. Right? I'm about building relationships. I may, and I think this way first, right? That's my tendency. That's my go-to. So you might hear words like, supportive, compassionate, empathetic, right? I lead with feelings. And when I make decisions, what pops in my head is this question of like, well, how's this going to make that person or the team feel? Right? That's where I lead from. So again, not good or bad with any of these, but that's my tendency to think that way first. If I'm a numberator, right, everything like a number has to do with data, right? It's data, right? We hear words like analytical, objective, logical. And, if you're running a sales team, that person might be looking at the CRM dashboard, right? Salesforce, like over and over and over again, right? And when a decision needs to be made, they think from this place of, what story is the data telling us? Or do we have enough data to make an informed decision? Where if I'm a Heartinator, I might just be like, we have enough. And it's going to make people feel wonderful and great. And that's going to drive the Numberators bonkers, right? So it's understanding, like from my perspective, I sit there and I'm like, okay, what amount of data do I need to give them where they feel good, yet it'll still make them feel awesome at the end, right? That's the way I work. So that's the Numberator. The Procedurator, I love this one too, because it's all about the process. Follow the process, follow the rules, right? You hear words like rule follower, organized, methodical in the way they think. And when a decision needs to be made, they think to themselves, like, have we followed the process to ensure we're getting the right result, right? Have we done it? Have we followed the process? And again, while they love building rules of engagement or documenting processes, things like that, which I'm a pretty close second on this one, actually, that's just the way they think and the way they show up. And the last one is what we call the Visionator. And this is the dreamers, right? These are the innovators, the visionaries, the intuitive about ideas. And when they make a decision, it comes down to like, is this going to support the vision that I have 3 years from now? Or I love this one of like, yeah, I'm getting bored. How do we change things up? Right? It's like, what's the next vision? What's the next level that we need to get to? Again, not good or bad, not right or wrong. But when we talk about whether people process things from a vision perspective, a process perspective, a number perspective or data perspective or the heart, right? That empathetic place, it changes how we approach people, right? I have clients that we spend a lot of time with, right? And when he's working with these leadership teams, when you look around the room, everybody's different. Like I said, beautifully unique. And I have to figure out each person's superpower. I need to figure out how they think. So I approach them their way, not my way. So again, this is another tool, another assessment you can utilize to influence people to take action, to build your team, to improve your communication. This isn't just to like get along, although I hope that happens. Of course, I want to work with people I like and I get along with and all these sorts of things. But it's starting to take a different approach and starting to understand the power that's literally right in our hands or on our computer that we're just not looking at. We're not leveraging the resources. They say that with a lot of things that we all know what to do, but sometimes it's really hard to get people to actually do it. Right? Have you experienced this yourself? Where we all know that, we should work out, we should eat right, but boy, it's hard to work out and eat right, isn't it? Or I know that I took this assessment, I know I should study it. It's the right thing to do. Not even the right thing to do. It's going to help me be better. It's help my team be better. Sometimes it's just hard to do it. And so part of becoming mentally tough, right, of being resilient, of having a strong mindset is continuing to work on these things. And one of the things I find that, I'm great at coming up with excuses. I don't know if you are as well, right? So if I have to work out, I'm like, ooh, my toe hurts, right? Or if I have to read this thing about, this profile or their superpower, it's like, ooh, but that meeting's coming up, right? I got to do that. But something that drives me, I don't know, I hope this resonates with you. But one of the things I get in my head, which drives me a lot, and I had this happen this morning where I got up for my workout. And to be honest, I really didn't want to get up. Bed was warm. It's cold outside. I was walking downstairs. I didn't put my shoes out. So I was going to do my workout, in my basement, but it's cold down there with just my socks on. But I had this thought pop in my head of, when I get up today, not if I get up, but when I get up today, I'm going to be one of a few small percent of people around the world who have gotten up to work out in the morning. And for me, that motivates me because when I look at that and I'm willing to do the things that others aren't, that to me, I see this like separation happening, not like a egotistical way, but like, I'm going to choose to do the things that others aren't willing to do because I want to experience different next level results in business, in my life. And that's why I'm choosing to get up this morning. That's why I did my lifting workout in my basement. That's why immediately when I was done, I went over. I have a cold plunge in my basement and I did a 3-minute cold plunge. Then I walked upstairs, took a shower, got my coffee, ate my breakfast, and started the day. Because not a lot of people are willing to do these things. Not a lot of people are willing to pull out these disc profiles or emergenetics or insights or the superpower quiz that you have access to and doing those little things. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to be part of that small percent that's just doing things differently and wants greatness within, it's just that decision, that choice. So if that's helpful for you to think about, those individuals around the world who are doing things differently, I'm part of your crowd. Right? Let's go do those things because I think of others doing those hard things as well. And that's what motivates me to go get up in the morning or to make that phone call or to do those little things. That's what's going to make all the difference. So with that, leverage the resources that are right in front of you. Take time and study it, look at it. Let it become something just part of what you do because that's how you lead your people because you're special and you have it inside you. Go take action upon that today. All right. Go check out those links below. You can take those, continue to grow and develop yourself. And I'll see you on the next podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us today on the Matt Phillips Podcast. If you are like us, we know that you are here to do great things, to to become the sales leader that makes things happen and drives big time sales results. We know you have that big vision, and we are here to help get you where you want to go. We're here to help you develop that unstoppable, rock solid leadership skill set and help you train to master the one true differentiator, mental toughness. We would love to be part of your journey. So if you are ready, head over to mattphillipscoaching.com and check out the ways that we can help. As always, please share this episode and make sure you subscribe by clicking the button below. Thank you again. And now, go crush the day.